If the Beatitudes showed us the heart of the kingdom, what Jesus says next shows its purpose. You were never meant to hide your faith. You were meant to flavor the world. You were meant to shine.
Look what he's done, can you see his grace? He set me free, so fills this place. To all my friends, this is what
We're continuing our journey through Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount. Last time, Jesus called the broken blessed. Now, he tells them what to do with that blessing. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. It sounds simple, but this short passage changed the direction of Christianity forever. In this video, we're going to see what those words meant in Jesus' world, what they mean in ours, and why you might be the only taste of heaven someone ever experiences. Here's the challenge. Most Christians think faith is private. Keep it personal. Don't stand out too much. But Jesus never said you are the salt of your own life. He said you are the salt of the earth. Salt does nothing sitting in a jar. Light does nothing hidden under a bowl. Both exist to change what they touch. Jesus didn't climb that mountain to build spectators. He was forming world changers, people who would quietly reshape the world, one act of love at a time. So let's use the Inductive Bible Study Method again. What did Jesus actually say? What did it mean to his listeners? What does it mean for us today? Verse 13, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. Verse 14, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Verse 15, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. Verse 16, in the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Simple words, 4 verses, yet every phrase is layered with meaning. Salt of the earth. Salt in the first century was precious. Roman soldiers were paid in it. It preserved food, healed wounds, and symbolized covenant faithfulness in Jewish tradition. When Jesus called his followers the salt of the earth, he wasn't handing out a compliment. He was giving them an identity. He was saying, you are the covenant preservers of the world. To the Jewish ear, this would echo Leviticus 2:13. With all your offerings, you shall offer salt. Salt made sacrifices acceptable. Salt made relationships last. In other words, the world decays without people who live differently. Without salt, everything spoils. Without believers who live by truth, mercy, and grace, culture rots. That's why Jesus warns, if the salt loses its taste, it's good for nothing. In ancient times, salt from the Dead Sea was mixed with minerals. When exposed to moisture, the true sodium chloride could dissolve, leaving tasteless residue. It looked like salt, but it had no power. Jesus is saying, don't look like salt, be salt. Don't look spiritual, but lose your influence. Don't call yourself a believer, but have no flavor of Christ left in you. That's a challenge even now. The danger of dilution, of blending in so much that we lose the sharpness of truth and the warmth of grace. Light of the world. Now Jesus shifts the metaphor. You are the light of the world. He doesn't say you have light. He says you are light. In Jewish tradition, light symbolized God's presence. Psalm 27:1 says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Isaiah 49:6 describes Israel as a light to the nations. When Jesus says this, he is transferring Israel's mission to his disciples. He's saying, you are now the lamp bearers of God's glory. In the Roman world, light meant civilization and knowledge. Darkness meant ignorance. So Jesus' claim carried double meaning, divine and cultural. His followers were to bring moral and spiritual clarity into a dark empire. Then he adds, a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. People in Galilee would have instantly pictured nearby towns glowing on mountaintops at night, visible for miles. That's how obvious faith is supposed to be. If you truly follow Christ, it should be impossible to hide. The lamp and the basket. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. In a peasant home, a single oil lamp lit the entire room. To cover it would make no sense. It would smother the flame. Jesus is exposing the absurdity of secret discipleship. Why light a fire if you plan to hide it? Why believe in truth if you'll never let it show? He ends with verse 16. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Notice something. He doesn't say, shine so people will notice you. He says, shine so people will notice God. That's the difference between self-promotion and revelation. The goal of Christian visibility isn't fame, it's reflection. The light we shine is borrowed light. It's His, not ours. Let's bring it home. Salt means presence. You preserve what you touch. You heal what you encounter. You add value simply by being there. That means when you walk into a room, gossip should stop tasting good. Bitterness should lose its flavor. Hopelessness should start to fade. Your words, your compassion, your integrity, they season life around you. Light means influence. Light doesn't argue with darkness, it just shines. You don't need a spotlight to make a difference. Sometimes a candle in a dark hallway changes everything. Jesus is not calling you to be famous, He's calling you to be visible, because when faith is hidden, the world grows darker. Think about this. The people hearing Jesus that day were fishermen, farmers, widows, and former tax collectors. None of them held power. None had wealth. Yet Jesus looked right at them and said, "You are the light of the world." Not "you will be." You are. That means right now, in your workplace, your school, your family, you carry the light of the kingdom. And here's the twist. Light always costs something. Oil lamps burned through oil. Torches burned through cloth. Candles gave light by giving themselves away. In the same way, shining for Christ will cost you something. Time, energy, comfort, maybe even reputation. But that's the only way the world sees. Deep dive into the connection to the Beatitudes notice. How this teaching follows the Beatitudes perfectly. The poor in spirit are humble enough to carry salt. The pure in heart shine brightest because there's no dirt in their flame. The peacemakers spread light by ending conflict, and the persecuted, their suffering makes the light even more visible. It's as if Jesus is saying, now that you know who you are, blessed, redeemed, called, it's time to show the world. But what happens when salt loses its saltiness? When Christians stop being different, when churches lose their light? That's what Jesus warns next. He says, it's good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled. That's not punishment, that's reality. If the church stops preserving truth, who will? If believers hide the light, where will people see God's goodness? This isn't guilt, it's invitation. Jesus is saying, stay salty, stay bright. Let me give you a modern picture. Years ago, a missionary worked in a village with no electricity. Every night, the only light came from a small kerosene lamp. One night, a storm hit, knocking everything over. The lamp broke, and darkness filled the room instantly. He said it was terrifying how fast darkness took over. You couldn't see your own hand. That's what Jesus meant. Darkness doesn't fight light. It only wins when the light goes out. Your faith doesn't need to be loud, but it does need to stay lit. A quiet light still pushes back 1,000 shadows. This is where Jesus brings it all together. The world is not changed by people who hide what God has done. It's changed by people who live visibly different lives. When your co-workers see kindness when they expected anger, that's light. When you forgive someone who hurt you, that's light. When you stand for truth with grace, that's salt and light together. Jesus didn't say, try to be light. He said, you are. Meaning, this isn't a command to become something new. It's a call to be what you already are. You already have the Spirit within you. You already carry the presence of Christ. You already reflect His glory. You just have to stop hiding it. But here is a question we often skip. Why does Jesus tell them this right before saying he came to fulfill the law? Because he's showing them that light doesn't replace the law, it reveals it. He's about to explain how righteousness works from the heart, not just the hands. Salt and light prepare the audience for the next part of his sermon. That true obedience isn't about appearance but authenticity. That's the loop that will connect straight into episode 3. So let's pull it all together. Jesus calls us salt because we preserve what the world would throw away. He calls us light because we reveal what darkness hides. Faith isn't about retreating from the world. It's about transforming it quietly, steadily, faithfully, like salt melting into a meal or light filling a room. This short passage is the bridge between who we are and what we're meant to do. The Beatitudes show the character of the kingdom. Salt and light show the calling of the kingdom. And the next part of the sermon, when Jesus says he came to fulfill the law, shows the cost of living that out. So if you've ever felt invisible, ordinary, unqualified, hear this: you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. And that's not a metaphor. That's your mission. Keep watching the next episode, where Jesus reveals how he came not to destroy the law, but to fulfill it.